my little party animals. Hiphiprenee here today with another new build for you. That's right, another one, because this is the second video I have put out on my channel today. And there is very good reason for that. So today we are doing a collab with the Sims Streamers and YouTubers Facebook group. So every 2 weeks, this group on Facebook that I run, we do a group collab. So we kind of flip-flop between doing create a sim collabs and build collabs, and this time around it was a build collab. And basically each of us got 2 partners that we had to work with. So each of these partners was going to be building a base game only shell, and then the person who got their shell was going to be furnishing their shell. Now, we did not just straight up pair off, so the person whose shell I am currently decorating is not decorating my shell. So there was kind of, a few different people in this collab, and everybody has 2 different people that they are working with. So currently you are watching me furnish the shell that was built by MapleSimmer, which I was really excited. Actually, what I did to kind of pair everyone up, I didn't want to have any sort of bias as far as pairing everybody up. Not that there really would be, because every single person that is in this collab is an absolutely wonderful simmer, and I am so excited to have all of them in the group. But basically what I did is I just kind of threw everyone's name in a hat and I just kind of figured it out that way. So I started off with, okay, who's gonna furnish my build? And I pulled that person's name out of a hat and just kind of went straight on down the line. So I am furnishing MapleSimmer's build. MapleSimmer is furnishing the build of GreenScreen. GreenScreen is furnishing the build of SolieSims. SolieSims is furnishing Simmer Erin's build. Simmer Erin is furnishing AimzLouise's build, and then AimzLouise is furnishing my build. So everyone kind of got to work with a different person. And now I did not specify in the rules of this build collab that you had to do 2 separate videos. I kind of made the executive decision on that, like I mentioned in my last video, because I just didn't want it to end up being way too long. Looking back, I probably could have done them both in the same video. It would have only been about a 20-minute long video, but I think it might be nicer to have it just be separate, so that way if you want to watch MapleSimmer build this actual house and then come back and just watch me furnish, and you don't have to worry about fast forwarding through my shell or anything like that, or vice versa. If you want to watch my shell and then, head on over to AimzLouise's channel to go watch her furnish it, you can do kind of however you want to watch these collabs is gonna work. You're gonna find a way. But again, for this collab, it had to be base game. We were not allowed to use CC, which is not a huge deal for me because I don't use CC anyway. But on top of that, we were not allowed to use cheats, meaning we could not use move objects. And if you guys have ever seen me build, again, I mentioned this in my previous video, if you've ever seen me build before, I use move objects. I use move objects like it is my life. To have to build without, or to furnish, honestly, the building wasn't that bad. Building the actual house was relatively easy, comparatively speaking, to furnishing. So you're gonna notice going through this video that there's just a ton of times where the objects are red, because I'm trying to get them as close to each other as possible without actually overlapping them. I even had issues putting the TV on the wall because you had to make sure that it wasn't interacting with that plant that's up on top of the mantle in any way. It was just a night. You can't even move objects like mirrors. Normally, if you have move objects on and you put a mirror on the wall, you can move it up and then subsequently back down by using moved objects, using the 9 and 0 key up at the top of your keyboard. You can't do that. You straight up cannot do that without having move objects on. So it was a straight up nightmare building this at points in time. Things like the bathroom, the kitchen, that kind of stuff was actually pretty simple, just because, you're placing a toilet here, the sink's gonna go next to it, the shower's gonna go over in the corner over here. Like, everything kind of had a place and it wasn't really a huge deal that you couldn't overlap things. Same thing with the kitchen. All of the countertops are going to go directly next to each other. The chances of you having to overlap a countertop is really slim. So I wasn't too concerned about that. But once I got into like the living room and the bedrooms, that's where I started having some problems because I really wanted to clutter up these builds. Again, if you guys have seen my builds in the past, you know at this point that clutter is my best friend. I really like building very realistic kind of, you know, suburban-y family style homes. And I feel like a lot of, you know, generic kind of just houses. If you walk into my house, for instance, I have my mail lying on a countertop as you walk in. I have a bunch of things all over my counters in my kitchen, cookie jars and, you know, little like holders for my cooking utensils, all sorts of stuff. So I really wanted to clutter this up a lot more than I ended up being able to because you can't put things right next to each other without using move objects. It was really frustrating. It was really frustrating. But I will say that MapleSimmer gave me a really, really great shell to work with. I really enjoyed the layout of this. She had specifically messaged me and said, you know, I did put a basement in there, but, you know, it can be an unfinished basement. You don't actually have to go in and like finish the basement. She was telling me that every once in a while, when she does go down and finish a basement, she's been having, you know, just kind of some weird issues with the basement not working properly. But I figured, you know, the house itself is relatively small, which is not a bad thing. Most people in this collab did do kind of smaller builds just to, you know, because we only have 2 weeks to work on these. I'm the type of person that likes to get things done as in advance as possible. And the way that my life has been going recently, that's just not really been super possible for me lately. I've had a lot of different things going on in my actual personal life. I have a lot of, you know, this is kind of my busy season. So I've just had a lot of things to do recently, and it's been really hard to, you know, get things actually accomplished. So in the interest of time, most people did do smaller builds here. I think it would have been a little crazy if we all, you know, kind of went in and built these giant mega mansions and we only had 2 weeks to build the exterior and furnish it. It would have been a little bit much, but I think we all did a really, really good job of managing our time. Everybody that has done this collab has been, you know, communicating with each other really well. Everybody's been, you know, just kind of asking the questions that they need to ask. I am never, you know, opposed to anybody reaching out to me if they're confused by anything. I know, especially when you're trying to get group collabs together, sometimes it's hard to make sure that you've seen and you've read everything, make sure that you're understanding everything the way that the person who wrote it intended. Sometimes when I write things, they might not make the most sense. So everybody's been really good about, you know, reaching out if they need to reach out for this particular collab. So if you notice, we have moved down to the basement here, and I decided to carpet the basement. I very rarely use carpeting in my builds, but when MapleSimmer was kind of explaining this house to me, she was like, you know, I kind of want it to have a, you know, the house is a little bit older, but maybe it's been renovated, or they're going to be renovating it, or it's partially renovated. So I thought, you know, we're going to do a renovated basement, and it didn't feel right putting hardwood in the basement. I don't know why that weirds me out. But every time that I have gone into somebody's finished basement, it's been carpeted. I have one room in my basement that's finished. And you actually, when you walk into the basement, you walk into like creepy basement, and then you have to like go through a doorway, and then you're in the finished room. It makes no sense. We don't ever use that room. But that room is actually carpeted. I don't know what it is about finished basements and carpeting. I just feel like it makes sense. So despite the fact that I very rarely in my regular builds use carpeting, I did use it in this build, and I think it turned out pretty cool. I actually really enjoy this basement. So over on one side, we have those 2 desks. I figured those would be for the kids, and that's kind of like their little homework area. So they have the little science experiment table, they have a bunch of music items, they have their 2 desks so they can sit and do homework on it. And then there is this room over here, which was originally intended to be a laundry room, until I went into the house after doing the entire layout and going, oh, wait, I can only use base game. So laundry day is obviously not base game. It is a stuff pack. But if you do download this house, this room was originally intended to be a laundry room. So you can switch it up and put a laundry room in there. I love the layout and the style of this house. So I might actually go in and kind of renovate it for myself, maybe for just like a personal kind of gaming playthrough, so I can play around with it. But I think I might renovate it with not base game things. And of course, I'm going to put move objects on. Because you can't stop me. If I am allowed to use move objects, I'm going to use move objects. That was the hardest part of this entire collab, but I think everybody did a really great job. I have seen a few of the videos so far today. I had a really late start getting all of this edited and finished. I've been having a few more computer problems recently. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about that in the past. Hopefully it's going to be dealt with soon. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. Thank you so much to everybody who participated in this collab and who participates in all of the collabs over on the Sims Streamers and YouTubers Facebook group. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. If you're new here or you're not new here and you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell so you get notifications every single time I post a new video. And I will see you guys later this week. Thanks so much. Bye.